Blessed love to everyone. This is the Honorable Priest Isaac. I'm inviting you to join me on Sunday, the 4th of October 2020 at 7 p.m. sharp for the official online
You're on mute though. You're on mute. You're on mute every time.
Yes. Yeah. Holy Emmanuel, I King Selassie, I Jah, Rastafari to the world. Welcome to another edition, family, of Ababa TV Every Time Fire. And I can't think of any other place that I would rather be right now than in the divine company of this honorable priest live from the island of Antigua, the blessed island where so many gifted African people. Von Benjamin, I gotta keep talking about midnight. This is the island. It wasn't St. Croix, you know. Enough Africans in the Caribbean come into St. Croix by way of Antigua. You never know. Priest would back me on that. He know I'm telling the truth.
Yeah, of course, many of my family members are there and a lot of cousins born there. There was a time when that wave was really on. So a lot of people from this rock reside in the Virgin Islands. It's true. Definitely.
So with no further ado, priest, you see the title, the priest has instructed me, Rastafari and the cosmos. It seems like the priest he always take us, he don't stay in the shallow waters. He'll take us out in the deep waters to give us a deeper understanding of African culture and the connection of African streams of thought and such, and Rastafari to show that connection to us. And so with that being said, when I chat too much, priest, I'm done.
Give thanks, my brethren. Yes. Give thanks for, inviting me into your presence again on your platform. And, I appreciate the fact that you even ran that ad before, the ad for the upcoming event, To be very honest, I didn't expect that. I didn't hear it on my side, but I didn't hear anyone in the comments say anything concerning the audio. So I would assume that the way that the thing is set up, it went out perfectly. But give thanks again, my good brother. And, this evening we'll be touching the subject. I wouldn't even say we will be going into. To some degree, we'll be going into, but we'll be touching the subject Rastafari and the cosmos. And you also, as I said, brought that ad to the people. Really, since you did that, let me just say a word or two as it relates to such. This evening, we will be basically highlighting that event that I have coming on. It's a online lecture. Now, my brother, I'm just trying to refamiliarize myself with your okay. Do you see that? I'm not hearing you now.
Yes, sir. I'm about to share it now. Yes, sir.
But you're seeing what I'm sharing, the poster itself, the flyer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, positive, no problem. Yes, so basically what it is, my good brother, on Sunday, the 4th day of October, so that's a few Sundays from now, at 7 p.m. sharp, we will be having what we would consider our very first official online lecture. And as you know, we're international lectures. I am an independent educator. So, I'm accustomed to, have lectures and seminars and workshops, depending on the subject area, depending on the topic. Even from the time we've been doing these programs with you, as you could see, we come with different topics and different, lanes and different views. And if it's not theology, it's anthropology, it's archaeology, it's history, it's domestic affairs. There are different levels that we go into. So at this moment, we are launching a series, my good brother, of lectures and seminars. Some people would call them webinars that we are bringing now, obviously, online. And the very first of such would be again on the 4th of October. It's a Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Now, what this will be is the official launch of our brand new book, The Heavens Declare the Glory. And the subtitle for that book is Rastafari and the Cosmos. So the subtitle for the book is actually the title for the lecture that we will be giving that evening, Rastafari and the Cosmos. And what is interesting with the webinar, the webinar site that is hosting this event, is that you have a question room, which I found, very unique, wherein now you could ask a specific question, obviously related to the subject area. And what would happen now, when other people are given the opportunity to vote on your question. So if I have a similar question or the very same question, all I have to do is press, the button that says I agree with this, and depending on how many people have the same concern or the same question, when I now, as the facilitator or the lecturer, when I go into the question room and I see, okay, we have 10 people has voted on this question, 5 people on this question and 2 people on that question. More than likely, in the interest of time and other things, we will address the question that has the most votes. So that's unique. So you don't have to be looking in the chat if it's available for that lecture to see, you know, what people are asking. People may be repeating the same thing. So as I said, we will be giving a very dynamic lecture. It's a lecture class. It's not just a presentation. It's not just, you know, it's not just a lecture period, full stop. As I say, it's a lecture class. We'll be obviously bringing a lot of information, something similar to what we're doing this evening. But as I said, we're just somewhat touching. You know, you could even see sometimes the speed in the voice, because you know that you would like to cover so many things, and you know time is limited in all factions and all spaces. So basically, I'm just inviting the general public, your audience, you know, to come and join us for a very wonderful evening. And when I say 7 p.m., that's Eastern Caribbean time. You know, come and join us for a very insightful and enlightening evening. You will be getting a very well put together presentation by myself. I am not ashamed to say that. And of course, we will be interactive. We did have a special, My Good Brother, which officially ended on the 11th of September, where it was an early bird special for those who would have come early to get their tickets to the event, which was $13, but the official price, as it has returned to the official price, is only 20 United States dollars currency. And we have Cash App available. You could see the Cash App right there on the screen. It's Atonra 2723. And our email as well. If an individual does not have the Cash App, they could also contact us via email, and we will also, you know, give them more information on how the transaction can be made. It's a very simple thing, and of course you'll get your key, your number and your passcode and whatever else you need to get into the lecture that evening. So yes, my good brother, I'm inviting everyone to take that opportunity. And we, as the good brother just said, you know, no disrespect to no one, but this is a cosmic thing that we're dealing with. Rastafari, you know, and I am a Rastafari. And what I wanted to do this evening, my good brother, is to go into again the cosmic aspect of Rastafari. But I think that in all due justice, we would still have to touch upon the earthly aspect to some degree, which is still cosmic within itself. But because, you know, information is such that, as you just said, you don't want to be losing anyone. So we want to bring it on a level where everyone can understand. Now, please forgive me. I'll ask this one more time just to make sure I have your software under control. Are you seeing this new picture with Haile Selassie and Empress Mene?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't think I'll have to ask you that again. I think I am reacquainted with your StreamYard.com here. All right. Now, Rastafari, obviously, this is a subject we're very comfortable with. The Rastafari itself is a movement. You hear of Rastafari. I am a Rastafari. Baba every time is a Rastafari. You know that then, Baba every time, of course. Rastafari. Yeah, man, Rastafari. Because now, you say something, you can talk to me now. Don't feel away.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, Priest. I keep it on mute because I think it was the last time I noticed I kept it off mute, and certain parts weren't clear. And so, you know, it takes me when you speak to me, I'm just unmuting myself. Back to you.
Respect. But really, what I'm saying is that Rastafari itself, the culture, is a movement. And historically, I don't think anyone can deny me in saying that. Rastafari is a movement. And although some may not like to use the term political, we don't need, when you say political, geopolitics doesn't necessarily mean elections and voting for people. It's the governance. And geopolitically, Rastafari was a resistance movement. I just want you to get this clear. Outside of religion, outside of belief, outside of anything on that level. When in Jamaica, the brethren and the sisters stood up and said that we are hailing the current king now, not no, this is what was going on. At that time, the very present and current king of Ethiopia, we are hailing him, and we are denouncing not even Queen Elizabeth, we are denouncing King George. Although we look over that, that we sometimes we don't even nearly pay attention to that aspect of Rastafari. But that was a criminal act, my lord. That worse than getting caught with ganja. You check it. Just the whole idea that you denounce him. Remember, Jamaica is a colony. Jamaica was not an independent country at the time. And I speak of Jamaica because this is where it began. You know what I mean? This is where the history has to be. We have to place the history. So Rastafari really in its origin, obviously, as I think I said on your program once before, Rastafari as a concept, a Rastafari really is an individual that has accepted the divinity of Emperor Haile Selassie I. That's it. That's the base. The basics, the rudiments of Rastafari, an individual that has accepted the divinity. Now that is very broad because there are many people that accept the divinity of Haile Selassie, and many of them accept it on different levels. Some speak of the divinity as being angelic. Some speak of the divinity as being prophetic. Some speak of the divinity as being Melchizedek. Just make up a word there. The second coming of Christ, God in flesh, the Almighty God. Even some Rastas stop you there and say, no, well, the Almighty God a little too heavy. But the point is, they all accept the divine nature on whatever level they turn it up to. They all accept the divine nature of the emperor of Ethiopia. And as I said, on a geopolitical level, in the especially 40s and 50s, although we know Rastafari since 30s, especially going into the 60s, it was seen as a serious insult, especially when the populace really understood that, hey, wait, these fellas here are just rebelling and turning away from society. Them fellas, they're hailing Selassie. It's Selassie, it's Haile Selassie, or Hail Selassie, they would say. Them fellas here, it's Hail Selassie, they praise it. And remember, this is the Emperor of Ethiopia. Now, even before we go into any history, and he was born here and born there, it's good, that's nice, even though we're void of that, because nobody talk about Haile Selassie. Nobody talk about Haile Selassie. Here, right here in Antigua, the Simon Bolivar of South America was born on the 24th day of July. Haile Selassie's birthday is the 23rd day of July. When is Haile Selassie's birthday? You don't hear nothing about Haile Selassie. But the next night, it's headline news. Tonight is the birthday of Simon Bolivar. What on earth does Simon Bolivar have to do with the nation of Antigua and Barbuda? You would have no disrespect to Simon Bolivar, man. That is one of our strong revolutionary. But who is the greatest revolutionary in our time? You might say Castro. Who is the greatest revolutionary in our time? You might say Gaddafi. Somebody might say the Black Panthers. But I will tell you it's Haile Selassie. Oh no, what revolution did he do? Now you see, I don't want to be jumping on YouTube and be playing nobody's video, although, but John F. Kennedy, when Haile Selassie I came to America in 1963, when Kennedy spoke of Haile Selassie, he clearly explained that we have seen in the short time of 10 years the greatest revolution in our modern time. This is what John F. Kennedy says. Over 100 and something million people gaining their independence because of all the African countries, almost 30 something countries in Africa and Arabia getting their independence in the short period of 10 years. This is John F. Kennedy. We have not witnessed such a revolution in this modern time. So who carries out a revolution? A revolutionary. So because for some reason we like to pretend as if we don't see Haile Selassie, because John F. Kennedy was mentioning, and you know we love John F. Kennedy. We have John F. Kennedy on the wall next to Jesus Christ. I mean, you can't get no more love than that. So,
teach,
John
priest.
F. Kennedy, Hold on.
Teach, priest, teach.
Oh, here you. So, John F. Kennedy now was clearly saying, you know, he was highlighting that in 1963, which was the same year that Haile Selassie visited, at least in that visit, the United States of America in November, because in May of that year, the 23rd to the 25th of May, Haile Selassie officially opened the Organization of African Unity, 1963, which is very, very important and significant in this modern time. For this is the first time, again, in modern history, where independent African states, free and independent African states, could have gathered together under one roof, you know, actually coming together, forming a United States of Africa. That is exactly what was taking place even at that time. If you look at the interview entitled "Meet the Press," all of this is on YouTube, and I can't play them, you know. But sometimes you don't want to just pick up people's videos and be playing them. You don't know how it go as a man that deal with copyright and all of these things. But I'm just showing you. If you watch the video "Meet the Press," the same long-running news program "Meet the Press" that you have today, "Meet the Press." At that time, Haile Selassie was a guest on "Meet the Press," and one of the reporters that asked, there were three reporters that asked several questions, and the female reporter, her name was Miss Frederick. I think she was representing NBC. And one of the questions, she clearly highlighted Haile Selassie and the prophetic, that's what she said, the prophetic speech that he made at the League of Nations that brought its demise. Go and watch it for yourself. But the second question, what was outstanding, she asked Haile Selassie first, that with this new unification of free and independent states in Africa, this is what Miss Frederick is asking Haile Selassie. What choice does the white man have in Africa? Does he have to leave, or does he have to stay and accept domination from the black man? This is what Miss Frederick asked Haile Selassie in 1963. She asked him, with this new drive for independence in Africa, because you must remember, you know, all the African countries were colonialized except Ethiopia. Ethiopia is the only one that did not go under the colonial grip. All the African countries went under the colonial grip except Ethiopia. So when you hear of 1957, when Ghana gained its independence, and we are celebrating it, yes, and we consider that's the first free and independent country in Africa, yes, outside, coming out of colonialism. But Ethiopia itself never went into that colonialism to come out of it. The Battle of Adwa, Menelik I, you know, broke down, you know, the defense of the Italian army, you know, and destroyed Crispy and sent them running back home. Of course, you know, Mussolini and Hitler got turned down as well. Mussolini was killed by his own people and hung upside down in Milan Square, you know, for coming and troubling the black man king, trying to colonialize Ethiopia. So at that time, Haile Selassie I, after defeating Mussolini, and from 1941, bringing Ethiopia back again into its anciency, plus bringing it to a modern state, That is why the Organization of African Unity was formed. Again, as Kennedy was saying, this revolutionary mind was at work. This is why he could communicate with people like Jomo Kenyatta and Kwame Nkrumah and different ones. Even the Nelson Mandela, before he was arrested, came to Ethiopia to get training from the soldiers. So my point is, Haile Selassie is integral in the African countries gaining their independence, even India and these places gaining their independence. In fact, the whole world, because you have to keep in mind, that it was not, Ethiopia is not the only African country that has never been colonialized. Ethiopia is the only country on the planet, period, that has never been colonialized. The United States of America is a colony of Europe itself. Are the colonializers. So take Europe out of the equation. Everybody else bite the dust. Arabia bite the dust. China was a colony of Britain. The same superpower, soon to be, or whatever the case is. Japan and all of them, every scattered island, my lord, went under colonialism. Not just Africa. Everywhere on the planet went under colonialism. European colonialism, except Ethiopia. That alone stands out. We can't just overlook that, but we're taught, even us as conscious people, we're taught to turn our back on Haile Selassie the first and look at Marcus Garvey sideways. We'll take the flag. We don't want to hear nothing else. Yeah, red, black, and green, story done. Yeah. So with Haile Selassie the first being at the forefront of bringing Africa into that new age, and dropping the Union Jack and all of them old European flags and rising their own flags, red, gold, and green, and red, black, and green, and all sort of thing, and peacock, and all sort of emblems coming up that represent the custom and the culture of the people. So that is why Miss Frederick now would have to ask, what choice does the white man have in Africa? Does he have to leave? Listen to me, man. This is meet the press. This ain't nobody in the crowd just shouting some madness. This is meet the press. Meet the press. And when Miss Frederick asked, nobody said, what kind of mad question that woman? How would he know that? Because what I'm saying, I don't know if the audience grasps the importance of this question or the intensity of the question. Why would you ask somebody what place the white man have in Africa? Apartheid, and so we're talking about it. What place the white man have? Does he have to leave or accept domination? No, I'm not talking about the answer he gave. I'm just trying to show you the frame of mind that the world was in for you to even ask this man that question. Which African leader today is worthy of a question like that? Nobody. Even in the emperor time, I don't think there's another leader you could really ask that, not even Kwame Nkrumah. And with all respect to the president, again, somehow our enemy has a hand in this, because our enemy loves to pick our heroes. And Kwame Nkrumah is not only our hero, he's a bigger hero than they try to make him to us. But for some reason, they try to paint him as the father of Africa. And we go for that when he himself would tell you who the real father of Africa is. It only makes sense. And when you understand again the African Hall established in Ethiopia again, and that is where all the newly independent countries came, African countries came and even sat with the Negus, and keeping in mind Haile Selassie, we're talking about an emperor now. This ain't no jokey business. We're talking about the emperor of Ethiopia, This isn't just a president and not even just a regular king. So the importance now, my good brother, as you could see what I just kind of highlighted there, definitely not on script at all, is just, giving at least the audience and everyone some level, because that's not even the tip of the iceberg. Not even the tip. We're just feeling the chill from the iceberg. We don't tip it yet. But that at least gives some level of understanding, especially to the mind that was totally void of that reasoning. The reality of the man, Haile Selassie. I haven't gone into anything religious yet. Just reality. Outside of the propaganda and the lies, but the reality. So what you will be looking at here, this is a photo of the event which took place in 1930. And this is the 2nd of November, 1930. And what you are seeing here is the ancient ceremony, the ancient coronation ceremony of Emperor Haile Selassie I and Empress Waziri Mene, his empress. This, as I said, was in 1930, the 2nd of November. For a quick course, not crash course, I don't want you to crash now, but just a quick run through. Haile Selassie was born on the 23rd day of July in 1892. He was born of Ras Mokenen, who is the first cousin of the then emperor, Emperor Menelik II. And his mother, as Haile Selassie, was Waziri Yeshimabet. Interestingly, before Haile Selassie was born, the couple had 9 miscarriages or fatal incidences, pardon me, fatality as it relates to their children. So 9 pregnancies and none came to fruition. So there were some miscarriages, and I think there were also some where the child was actually born, and within a few moments, the child would have died. So this is history. So it's 10 in all. Let's follow this good. It's 10 in all. And this is something that, I mean, you of course, your condolences goes out to the death of anyone. But this is some real mistakes. So it is Haile Selassie I that was the 9th. It was 8 that died. Yes, Yeshimabet had no children. After the emperor was born, she got pregnant again. And this time, she and the baby died together. Now that's reality. Now, it may be a very, very interesting coincidence, but when you understand the span, the lifespan as we know him of Haile Selassie, when you really comprehend his cosmic and his geopolitical level and just everything about him, that could not be by chance. Jah protect the souls of those who have passed on, but trust me, that was a clear sign of who was coming into this territory to rule with a rod of iron according to scriptures. So when the emperor was 4 or 5 years old in 1896, that was the time of the Battle of Adwa. This is when General Crispi and the Italians, Pope Pius XI, sprinkled holy waters on Mussolini's, the bombs for Mussolini when they attacked Ethiopia in 1936. In the same way, the Papal blessed the Italian army during the time of Crispi when they attacked in 1896. And in 1896, they were crushed by Menelik II and Rasmussen and Empress Taitu, which is the Empress of Menelik II. The Italians were sent home broken and beaten. All right, fair enough. That time the emperor was 4 years of age also. So at the age of 12 now, he was given a specific title that you would find usually amongst adult generals and diplomats. The title is known as the Dejmash. It's pronounced the Dejmash. Some people spell it D-E-J-A-M-A-T-C-H, the Dejmash. It means the keeper of the door. And this title was given to him at the age of 12. Very, very interesting too, if you mark the days and the age, you know, the age of 12, given this title. And that was the same age, please listen to me. That was the same age when the young Tafari, because that's his name, Tafari. In the Amharic twang, it would be really pronounced Tafari. So the title as a young youth would be Leech Tafari, because you could obviously see he's of noble background, you know what I'm saying, of royal blood. So Tafari, or Leech Tafari, at the age of 12, follow me good, became Dideshama Tafari. So the keeper of the door, and at that time was given command over a specific amount of a specific faction, pardon me, of his father's army, about 5,000 men in his father's army. At the age of 12, I talking, he was the governor. You have the governor of Sidimo. He was the governor of Hara, the governor of, what's that other place there? Gore, give thanks to my young princess. He was the governor of Gore as well. And that took him, you know, up into later teens as well. So in between 1914, 1916, so many different things were taking place in Ethiopia. And Menelik II did pass, and his daughter Zaditu became the empress. And at that time, on the 27th of September, that same time when she became the empress, Rastafari became, well, that's when he got the title Rastafari. For Ras is a title, a region title that means prince. So hence that term now that you hear us use, Rastafari, that is actually his name, Rastafari. And from Rastafari in 1928, he became Negus Tafari on the 7th day of October. And what is interesting here is that this is the same year that Marcus Messiah Garvey, at least in one of his speeches, you know, recognized that in Ethiopia, a great king shall be crowned. In fact, according to a book entitled Rastafari in Jamaica from 1930 to 1990. I'm giving you the source of the information here. And the author of this book is an individual by the name, a German individual by the name of, how you pronounce the name there? No, Franz Jean Rick, something of the sort. Yeah, something of the sort. But anyway, in that book specifically, he gives the date as the 27th day of March 1928 that Marcus Messiah Garvey in Elwes Park said that you are to look to Africa, to Ethiopia, where a prince shall be crowned king, and he shall be your liberator. Now, of course, now that statement has come in for different levels of criticism and controversy, and I've heard it over the years. Some people say Marcus Garvey never really said so. Some people say that he didn't say it; he performed it in a play. Some people say this fella said it before him, which I don't know. So that's neither here nor there. Some people say, well, who said he wasn't talking about some other king? Well, which is a very important point too. That other king point, let me drop on that one first. You see, if I'm going to tell you, this is another thing. This is when you understand the history. Now, in 1928, not 1930, in 1928, Rastafari on the 7th of October became king of Ethiopia, not emperor, king. Ethiopia still had an empress, and that was the first time in history that arrangement has ever been made. It's a mystic thing. And what also stands out is that after that event, there was no other prince in Ethiopia to ever be made a king, any kind of king, because the Ethiopian provinces had different kings. That was the last time. The politics there is mystic. Let me show you what the politics is. Empress Zaditu, the daughter of Menelik, clearly says that it is Rastafari that is running the country. So this is why it was during the time of him being Rastafari where he put Ethiopia into the League of Nations. So this is between 1923-24, around the same time they discovered Tutankhamun. Interestingly, and here the mystic thereof now, putting Ethiopia into the League of Nations. Remember, the League of Nations at the time is basically European heads of states gathered together on how to continue to rob Africa and the rest of the world. So this free independent empire, not just a country, strategically, diplomatically, with a lot of shrewd mentality, got in amongst the wolves, the League of Nations. This is why he could have appeared before the League of Nations in 1936 and plead his cause to fulfill all prophecy as well in historical form. So Haile Selassie, or I should say Rastafari at the time, 1928, eventually became the king of Addis Ababa. All the provinces had a king. You understand? All the provinces had a king. Addis Ababa doesn't have a king. Addis Ababa is the capital because the king of kings ruled in Addis Ababa. But there wasn't the king of kings, there was Empress Zaditu. And for him to become king, that's Rastafari, to become Negus Tafari, the whole politics would change. He got the title in 1928, just 7 months after Marcus Messiah Garvey would have said so. Just 7 months after Marcus Messiah Garvey would have said so. So although we say Marcus Messiah Garvey, his prophecy went towards his coronation in 1930, yes, that is true as well. But it's interesting that 7 months after he said a prince should be crowned king, that a prince was crowned king in Ethiopia, Africa. And listen to this, no other prince was ever crowned king again after that up to this very day. So I don't know who else it could have been. There's just one choice from the words of God, Marcus Messiah, the mighty prophet. Now, what I'm saying as it relates to that, I mean, I have read speeches where Marcus Garvey has mentioned Rastafari by name. He says we expect great things of Rastafari. That's what he says. You know, so you could see he knows who and what he's talking about. Now, as far as Marcus Messiah Garvey performing a play, you know, when I say play, theatrical presentation, then where he has a coronation for a king and a queen, because that's some people's argument. Say, well, you know, I mean, Marcus Garvey never really said that. What it is that Marcus Garvey was, you know, he was into poetry and he was into writing and he was into a lot of that. That is true. So what it is, Marcus Garvey really had a play. And in this play, he was showing an African coronation of a king and a queen. That is what they say, you know, and that's all. He wasn't really saying anything. But this is what I'm saying. Marcus Messiah Garvey is an ancient African. Marcus Messiah Garvey is no regular Jamaican, and no regular West Indian, and no regular American, and all of these things, and no immigrant, and all of that. Marcus Garvey is a science man. When you watch the bozos or the Dogon, not the bozo show, you know, the bozo show is a disrespect to the bozo people in Africa. The bozo people have a older record of reading the Star Series Speed than even the Dogons. Not no competition in it, but just showing you what's going on. And when you see the Dogons doing their dance and they're spinning around and beating their drums and they're dancing and they're spinning around and doing all of that, they're telling you a story. They're showing you the astronomical movements of the binary star system, Sirius A and B, Potolo and Sagittolo. That's what they're showing you. It looked to you like the Carnival in and Bacchanal, but they're showing you how the heavens work in that dance. You understand? As Africans, that's how we talk. We talk through music. When I say music, not necessarily music with words. We have talking drums. It doesn't necessarily say hello, but we use that term just to show you that we understand what the drum is saying. We understand what the tree is saying. You know, we speak with symbols. I heard one professor said once, don't you notice none of the Egyptian hieroglyphs have their mouth open because they ain't got nothing to say. They speak with frequency. But I'm saying now, we have a proverb, a saying, I should say, in Africa, all stories belong to Anansi, because Anansi's web represents the electromagnetic frequency of the earth, meaning that all the Anansi stories goes into your whole being and the reality of nature and quantum physics, quantum science, and your own character. You know, the marriage of Anansewa. All of that is ancient West African tradition. So the point is, we speak in the theater. That's how we speak. We preserve our history. We preserve our spirituality. We preserve our theology. We preserve our culture. And then we teach it back in hieroglyphic forms, in art form. We teach it back in singing. We teach it back in writing. We bring it back again to a next generation in the form of the theater, in dancing, in drumming. We have many ways in poetry. We have many ways of expressing it, not just getting a microphone and talking. So I think that as a result of the enslavement period, with no disrespect to no one, we have become so numb of who we are that the first thing we're going to say, incriminating ourselves. Marcus Garvey never said, see, because we depending on said. We like to talk. We love hear talk. Marcus Garvey never said anything about no prince getting crowned king. Here where we incriminate, not me, but here where they incriminate themselves. You know what Marcus Garvey did? No, tell me. Marcus Garvey had a play. And in the play, a king and a queen was crowned in Ethiopia. So Marcus Garvey didn't say nothing. Well, who have ears, let them hear. And even in this case, who have eyes, let them see, brother. Because they're those with eyes that miss the whole thing. In a vision, Stevie Wonder, they're those with eyes and ears. And you have the megaphone and they still don't hear you. So this is the fulfillment of Marcus Messiah Garvey's prophecy, because he is a prophet, without a doubt. Now, you know, obviously, there's much more that could be said. I just kind of created, to be honest, an off-the-head package, you know, especially for those who, you know, may be a bit green in the knowledge as it relates to Haile Selassie I. And then I'm sure even those within your audience that are well versed in the knowledge would have appreciated the way that we packaged it together and brought it to themselves as well. Refreshing, I'm sure. But now, yes, respect. But now I want to go now to the cosmic level, although I mean all of this is cosmic too. You know, if you noticed what I said there, and I specifically highlighted it, that the king became a man at the age of 12. And I think that anyone, you know, that is into any sort of studying the allegorical studies, the Gnostic levels, anything of that nature, you would know of the story of the God Christ figure becoming a man at the age of 12/13. And why I say it like that is because, you know, like there's a scripture when it speaks about Christ was in the temple teaching, and it says that he was fully 12, and his mother came along and asking me, what you dealing with, man? We were looking for you a long time. And he said, well, hey, I'm here dealing with, I'm taking care of, I am about my father's business. Okay. So mostly in religious, you know, frame of thought, this is seen as when he became a man, like, yo, I gone now, I have something to do at the age of 12. In fact, anything around there, you don't hear too much about him until, you know what I mean, he's 30. So my brother, the Bible, without going too far, I don't want to even begin to try to dissect no biblical history. When I say biblical history, not the history of the stories in the Bible, you know, like, but the history of the Bible itself. But the most I will say for the moment is that the Bible highlights that the story of Abraham and Hagar and Ishmael and Sarah is an allegory. The Bible says, since we're talking about Rastafari, one of the things that Rastafari would highlight is that Haile Selassie is very passionate about the use of the Bible. And many ones try to interpret this way or interpret it the other way. And sometimes in speech and when translation, there is room for a bit of interpretation. There's nothing wrong, to be honest, not wrong. But there's a little saying that the king has in a speech that I always like to highlight. And I always say that, listen, especially to races, not even to somebody that's not a race, especially to a race. The emperor says, today, man sees his hopes and aspirations crumbling before him. And he knows not whether to turn. I think he says he's drifting. So obviously now, but I mean the words are basically in line, but I may have missed one or two. But here it is, here it is. He said he must realize that his hope is in the Bible. This is I'm interested today, you know, man sees his hopes and aspirations crumbling before him. He knows not whether to turn. He must realize his refuge is in the Bible. Now, what I'm saying here, you may say like, wow, the Bible, man, the slave master, and you know, we can go on, and believe me, we can go on and on. But again, I'm talking to races. Now, if the emperor make a statement like that, I mean, you may say, well, you know, the emperor was a Christian. Yeah, I get that too. But that's a very, very personal statement. Now, the reason I'm just bringing in this is very important because it would clear up some of the, I would say, fog in some of our minds. And you got to be very open when you're seeking knowledge. Believe me, you got to be able to balance things. You can't get too clamped down and locked down. The very same Bible, as I just said, made mention of Father Abraham. This is the patriarch, and his story as it relates to his son Ishmael and Hagar and Sarah as being an allegory. What is an allegory? All stories belong to an answer. When you see the Dogons dancing, that's an allegory there. Allegory is similar to mythology. Not necessarily the same thing, because allegory usually comes in the form of poetry and dance, but could still be the spoken or written word with deep symbolism, deep hidden meaning. That's what it is. So when you speak of an allegory, does that mean that the allegory, that mean that the story is not literal? Well, it does not necessarily mean that the story you may be speaking of is literal or not literal, but the main point is that it is dipped and soaked in allegory. So if the Bible tells you that the Bible is allegory, who you vex with? That is why when you read it as allegory, the levels become different. Trust me, there are a lot of hidden codes within that. And as I said, you know, we could speak and get into many different aspects of this and say, well, you know, the white man brought the book to us and all of these different things. All right. My good brother, I don't believe we give the Ethiopians enough credit. When you go to Waldaba in Ethiopia, when you go to Aksum in Ethiopia, even in some of the churches right there in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, you find the oldest religious manuscript that has anything to do with any sort of biblical reference that is in Ethiopia. So in other words, the oldest Bible in the world is not in Hebrew. It is in Ge'ez, and it is in Ethiopia. In fact, my good brother, let me just show you this, so even the audience could comprehend. So there you have, I'm sure you can see that. This is just one of the many ancient books. You have the oldest version of even the New Testament in Ethiopia. Now, some will tell you, well, that was translated from some other book. But the some other book that was supposedly translated from, you can't find it. So that cannot stand in a court of law. Now, this is serious, man. It's just like the Septuagint. They say that the Septuagint was translated from the Hebrew Torah. It's a very nice story, but you can't prove that, because the Hebrew Torah that it was translated from, we can't find that. But the Septuagint was translated in a room that was filled with scrolls. Remember, the Septuagint was translated in Alexandria, Kemet, in the building called the Serapeum, also known as the Museum. That's where you get the word museum. That was annexing the Library of Alexander. And inside this little room was countless of scrolls. And when you read the stories on the scrolls, and you read the story in the Bible, a lot of the stories are very similar. That is undeniable. And the Septuagint, which is the Greek version of the Old Testament, came out of the temple, the Library of Alexandria, specifically the building that annexed it, talking about the Serapeum, the same museum. And this is not disputed facts here. I think most people agree with this, that the Septuagint came out of the Library of Alexandria in 285 BCE. I think that is understood history, that 70 fellas from the Levant came down to Egypt and was in there for several months writing the Septuagint. The twist is that we are to believe that they had the Hebrew Torah in their hand while they were doing this and came out with the Septuagint. But interestingly, the stories in the Septuagint, we can do a whole program on that one, are very similar to many hieroglyphic writings that you see on the walls in Kemet. And interesting, I say walls and hieroglyphs, because remember, they burned down the Library of Alexandria. So a lot of them scrolls get burned up too. So you may say, okay, well, your scrolls got burned up. Where's your proof? But no. What was in the scrolls is the same thing that's on the walls. The walls are still there. Up to now, the walls are still there. Even the language Ge'ez is the cousin of the Coptic and going straight into the Meduneta. It's one science continuing over the ages. We are a allegorical people. You come and tell me about Jonah never gets swallowed by no fish. Me, you telling that? Nobody can get swallowed by no fish. Who don't know that? It's an allegory. I ain't gonna throw it away. It's a good allegory. We've been telling that story for a long time. What's the problem? But you see, we get caught up in debate and who is right and who is wrong, so we lose the essence. And just you have to pick a side now. It's pick side now, pick a side. You know what I mean? Did Solomon exist or not? Pick a side. No, man, you don't even understand them science there. If I start bust that down, you'll tell me that's too much, man. Can't take it. So I'm just showing you here. These manuscripts, this is a Bible in a man. From the 4th century. The oldest put together biblical manuscripts are in Ethiopia. The oldest complete Hebrew Bible is 1,000 years old, in a man. The Leonard Gra Codex, 1,000 years old. This one is almost just a few hundred years shy of 2,000 years old. And it doesn't need to be no older than that. That's how far back the story is said to go, isn't it? So there you go. So I mean, that is very serious. So it also kind of highlights the anciency of Ethiopia. And this is why now, when you read even the Bible and you understand, just like many of our African writings, it has been set out in allegorical form. You know, let me just show the audience one more thing before I move on. You know, because I know what I'm saying there is very clear, but because it's not the popular thought, it may not be something that is grasped right away. Now, even in the Quran, there is a character by the name of Nu. And this Nu, well, the Nu thing is mystic because you have the Nun, Nu and the Naunet. And it is one of those God figure that you have the blend of male and female. I'm sure many in your audience, you know, would have a good clarity in that and could even expound too. But what I just want to highlight is the similarity here. That, of course, in the Bible, you have the God figure known as Noah. Noah is a God figure. And the God figure Noah, as you know, had a bark, or an ark, really, where himself and his wife and you also had his 3 sons and 3 daughters, you know, daughter-in-law, basically, their wives, 8 of them were on the boat. Now, we've done programs on the whole reality of Noah's Ark. I mean, the story itself, the 2 animals going on the ship and all of that, it just cannot work. It cannot work. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. That can't work. You know, and sometimes you see when I say these things, it pulls at me a bit because I know I can expound, really expound, but you can't go down every alley you pass, or else you'll never get to where you're going. But just take it from me. That is not reality. Even within the Bible scriptures, it shows you the level of understanding that you would need, man. I mean, for an individual to believe that all these different animals were on the ship and for 40 days, and not even 40 days and 40 nights, but that's how long it was raining. And, you know, the polar bear and the penguin and the giraffe and the lion and all the spiders and whatever else. No, this is an allegory. It is bigger than even Noah and the ark. Remember, in the Bible, you know, there's several creational stories in Genesis, at least 4, and that is one of them. That's a creation story. The world was destroyed and replenished. That's creation. But we see it like a nursery crime. There was an old man who built a boat and took 2 of every animal and placed them in a boat. That don't sound like some sort of fairy tale story? There was an old lady that lived in a shoe. You can hear, you know, it just don't, no, it doesn't. But if you read it in its scientific aspect, that's science. In the Quran, they refer to Noah, the god Noah. Noah is a God figure. He created a brand new world. I know we have this idea of Noah in the big bathrobe and God talking to Noah. Noah and the hiding. Who is talking there? This is the Lord of hosts, Noah. You need to build a boat, Noah, and get to a very animal, Noah. Yeah. That's in our mind. That's what's going on there. But if you see Noah now in the way that it's really written, as a God figure, all gods have their ark. Anything that has to do with an ark has to do with God. That's why Moses, a next God figure, was placed in an ark when he was born, not a basket, and sent up the river. If it was a basket, he would sink and drown. Bible don't say no basket, it says an ark, because it's symbolism. So now, in the Quran, Noah is referred to as Nu. That's Noah's name in the Quran, Nu. And in ancient Kemetic, in the Nun, which is the combination, you have Nu and you have Naunet. So here you have the Nu figure, as you could see, as a male, carrying his boat, also known as a bark, because all the God figures come with a boat, you know. That's why Christ has his disciples and the fishermen, and they have them boats. That's why the same Jonah, that's the next God figure. Jonah was thrown off of his boat into the water. If you notice, if you take J out of Jonah, because there's no J in Hebrew, that a lot of people love to say that, oh, there's no J in Hebrew. Okay, good. Take the J out of Jonah. You look at it good, you see 4 letters you have. You look at it, you see the word Noah, because Jonah and Noah is a science, it's etymology also in this. Etymology is numerology, all of that plays a part. So Jonah now swallowed by the same fish, the Nun. Nun is also another word for the fish, the Nun, the Nomo. That's why the Dogon's God figure is the Nomo. You understand? The fish. So here you have the Nu. And in the Quran, or in Arabic, Noah's name is Nu. So the Kemetic Nu and the Islamic Nu, or the Islamic Noah, has the same name, Nu. That's interesting that they have the same name, because remember, Arabic, Amharic, I mean, just the sounds alone can tell you that something's going on there. So, and they all come from, even if they're connected to the Syriac script or the Phoenician script, you still gonna find some merger where they come into the Meduneta, of which all of these tongues come from. Even your Latin, that the European words come from, even your Latin is connected to the Phoenician script, which is an African script. You understand? The same Arabic is related or connected to a Congo script known as the Kara script. Islamic scholars, my lord, in Britain would tell you that. You understand? So we govern all of these languages. So that's why you could see the names playing back again. So the Quran's Nu is the same Kemetic Nu. What the Quran Nu doing? The same thing that, who is the Quran's Nu, by the way? That's Noah. Noah of the Bible, yeah. Okay. So what is he doing? He has a boat. Who have a boat? Nu. Yeah, I see Nu here with a boat. No, not that Nu. Which Nu? The one in the Quran. I didn't know. You have a Nu Nu? No, it's the same Nu. You sure? Noah. Noah name is not Nu. Man, you're mixing me up. Yeah, of course, we will get mixed up. Yeah, man. Big Mac and fries will mix us up. You understand? We need a whole cleansing, like Baba Heru would say. I'm showing you that this Nu has a boat with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you count him in, you get 8. But because we have a mystic way of doing maths, if you count Kepra in, on top of the boat, you have 8. Now, what I'm saying is that at least with the numbers, numerologically speaking, we have the bark or the boat, and the 8 individuals on the boat. Nu, the symbol of Nu is water. The symbol of Noah is water. The same Jonah again, and I showed you the Noah in the belly of the fish, water. That's why the science of Vishnu and all of these Christ figures, you see them coming out of the water. Just Christ being born from Mary. Mary means water. Maria, the marine, Mariam, all of that water. The marine, like a marina, water again. The Marines, the soldiers, water again. Mary, Maya, illusion. So Christ being born from Mary is like saying Christ is being born from the water. All of this is high allegory. So that's why the Noah figure, the water, bringing new life out of the water, which is a brand new creation. That's why he had 2 of every animals. And when he opened the door, all the animals came back out. We're dealing with high levels of, listen, I don't know if you ever heard the Honorable Minister Farrakhan speak about on the wheel. I've never been on the wheel, really, But what he explained about on the wheel is that on the wheel now you have different levels of science taking place. Now, I cannot verify. If that's what the brother says, the brother got to know whatever he has experienced. But what I'm saying, because me personally, higher levels of intelligence, and I don't mean something from a next planet, something from this planet is all around us. That's for sure. So he's showing you that on the wheel, you have certain levels of technology that don't exist here. On the wheel, you have new flora and fauna on the wheel, like stem cells, whatever the case is, cell reproduction, the different levels. The point I'm making is the Noah figure. You get the impression that it was a high level of creation taking place there. Not necessarily the wheel, but the story of creation means that the world was gone and then the world replenished itself. The Mayans say that we are living in the 5th world. And that is why if you read the same Bible again, in Genesis chapter 1, you have one creation that was created by God. In Genesis chapter 2, you have a next creation that was created by the Lord God. Check it good, because if you look at the 2 different creations, they have a part where the days were switched as it relates to what was created on what day. So for example, you would have that let's say the plants were created before the sea creatures, while in the other creation it's flipped the other way around, and I'm just using that as an example. So that obviously shows you that it's something different. One creation said that he created male and female, he created them. The other scripture says he created Adam and Eve. That's very, very interesting. In fact, the Adam and Eve creation comes after he created male and female. This is very deep. So I'm just showing you that even Noah, when Noah destroyed the earth and the earth was replenished, that's what he told Adam, replenish the earth. Same thing he told Noah, replenish the earth, because they were both recreation stories. The Shabaka stone, they were both recreation story. The Memphite Stella. So we understand that science. So this is the same Noah story with his boat and the 8 people recreating, because the new story, this is a creation story. The story of the Nun is the story of creation. So when the emperor say he glory in the Bible, I clearly understand what the God is saying. So now let us, as it relates to, again, the allegory. I know you have time, my brother. I will spend a few moments with you tonight, because we're going to make this clear.
Take your time, priest.
Yeah.
Teaching. Take your time.
Yes, give thanks. So, as it relates to, let's highlight here now the god Asar. Asar in the ancient Kemetic philosophy, is also seen as one of those chief god figures. And Asa himself give thanks, considered to be, the whole Son of God. You see a lot of the titles shared between Asa, Heru, and as I said, this goes even outside of this philosophy. Dionysus and Jason and Perseus, all of these, Zeus, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, all of these different gods of Greek mythology, Roman mythology, and ancient African allegory. You see that ancient similarity, and that's where the Greeks got their science. It's a science that we're playing with. But the thing is that allegory does become reality. So just like the Heru figure and the Asar figure, you also get the science of the age of 12 standing out. In Heru's situation, you hear about the Heru as the lion and the Heru as the lamb. The Osiris story, the crucifixion of Osiris, and cut into 14 pieces, etc., etc. Now, I'm going to read something here for yourself and your audience. This is coming directly from the book, not the true biblical land of Israel, pardon me, The Heavens Declare the Glory. And The Heavens Declare the Glory again will be that book that we are officially launching on the 4th day of October. The Heavens Declare the Glory. Remember, that will be an online lecture, and the title of the lecture is the subtitle of this book. The title of the lecture is Rastafari and the Cosmos. And I'm just scrolling through the pages of the book to get to a specific story as such that I would like to read for you. All right. The myth, this is on the 20th page of the book, the myth of Osiris and Isis and Set. All right. Let me read here for you. I'm sure that you are seeing this good. Okay, yes, you are. There are some variations on the Osiris myth, but generally, the story begins with Osiris as the king of the ancient Egyptians, pardon, either through providing his wife and sister Isis with the power to rule in his place when he was away, spreading civilization, or through the other's pure envy. Osiris angered his brother Set. Set resented Osiris' success and is said to have conspired to kill his brother after Set's wife, Nephthys, pretended to be Addis and seduced Osiris. The god Anubis was the result of the union. Set either drowned or killed Osiris. The story is often said to include, this is an insert into the book, by the way, not my specific words. This is a source that we cited. Set either drowned or killed Osiris. The story is often said to include a beautiful chest tailor-made, to Osiris's size. Set ordered the creation of the chest and then invited his brother to a banquet. During the feast, he offered the remarkable chest to anyone who could fit inside it. Everyone tried, but only Osiris fit inside. The moment Osiris lay down in the chest, Set nailed the lid closed. Then he sealed the chest with molten lead and threw it along with his brother into the Nile. The chest, which some say inspired the idea for the Egyptian sarcophagi, was carried out to sea and then came to rest in the tamarisk tree growing near Byblos in Phoenicia. The tree grew around the god in the coffin, and he remained there until he died, according to this. The local king later decided he liked the same tree, and with no knowledge of Osiris's body inside it, he had it, pardon me, turned into a column of his palace. All allegory here, and those of the Masonic background would totally understand the whole column thing and the pillars and the Doric and the Corinth. But Set encountered Osiris's body while he was out hunting one day. To prevent his brother from gaining the burial he deserved, the enraged Set cut Osiris's body up into various pieces with different numbers. Listen to this, that's to show how deep the science is now. With different numbers according to the text. Hear this: 14, half of a lunar month; 16, the ideal height of a rise in the water level in cubics. Isis discovered what had been done and gathered all the pieces of Osiris's body that she could. The only part that she could not find was his penis, which had been eaten by an oxyrhynchus fish, that's the catfish, making it a forbidden food in ancient Egypt. Okay, I wouldn't read no more about of that specifically. Well, I'm almost done there, but I know most of you have an idea of the story itself. You know, he was resurrected and became the constellation of Orion, which is Sahu. Now, what I'm just highlighting here, first of all, so yes, the story of Osiris, the story of Aset, Asa and Aset, which is Osiris and Isis. So here you have Osiris. There was a banquet really given for Osiris. And at the banquet, 72 individuals attended this banquet here. Now, at the coronation of Haile Selassie I, there were 72 representatives of the nations of the world at this outstanding coronation. You see, remember, we kind of took time to go through some geopolitics to give a kind of comprehension of where we are on the world stage. So when we're talking about 72 nations, we are talking primarily colonial masters. And at this coronation, they all came and they bowed. You have to understand this good enough. The representatives of Britain, France, Germany, Italy, all of these people had their hands in the colonial environment going on in Africa. They all had slaves. They all had subjects across the globe as well. And they came and they bowed, all of them, to the African king. And you may say, oh, come on, you trust these people here? Trust? What are you talking about? Is anybody talking about trust? Whether they trust you or not, these people were not bowing to no black man. Nowhere on the planet at that time. Nowhere on the planet at that time. Yet still they all assembled in Ethiopia on the 2nd of November to kiss the ground. You've seen the videos, yeah, of Negusa Negas, Haile Selassie I. What trust are you talking about? The story of Osiris says that the same 72 that came to the banquet held by Set were the same 72 conspirators with him that assisted him to shove Osiris and lock him down in the coffin and have their way with him. Again, it's allegory. They chopped him up into 14 pieces. As you could see, depending on the science, they chopped him up into 16 pieces. Isis went all over the land, Ast, and took the pieces of the Asar and put him back together again. And Ampur Anubis wrapped him up in the mantle of the red, the black, and the green, and he became the Amsu or the Karis and became Sahu, the constellation known as the Orion. This is the Kemetic allegory. The same Asar that was born in Ethiopia, by the way. Ask Dr. Ben about that. The same Asar, just like the Christ in the Bible, just like Heru and other figures of mythology. The same Asar that became a man at the age of 12. At the age of 12, or according to some scriptures, when he was fully 12, which would be 13. This is the same time, just as Christ became a man, Asar became a man, Heru became a man, etc., etc., etc. It's at that same age that Liege Tafari got the title Dideshwak Tafari, given the governorship over a faction of his father's army, becoming the governor again of Sidimo, of Gore, of Hora, Hara specifically, and obviously would have his own army, his own retinue at the age of 12, 13, 14, 15, gone about his father's business, because interestingly, at that very same time, his biological father, Rasmussen, passed on. So interestingly now, at this great coronation, unlike any coronation, remember the year before that, 1929, that's the year Vatican City became Vatican City as you know it today. What a rush to make the Pope of Rome Ambrose Ratti. Ambrose Ratti. Make sure I get it. Yeah, Ambrose Ratti, not Ratzinger. A lot of rats, eh? Ambrose Ratti. He's Pope Pius the 11th. Yeah, he was the Pope at the time when the Vatican became the Vatican, when Mussolini and Gasperier signed the pact to heal the wounds of many years. From time Napoleon arrested the Pope and carried him to France. So now under Ambrose Ratti or Pope Pius the 11th, the Vatican became a state within a state, a city-state, a country by itself officially, and the Pope became an absolute monarch. That is the year before Haile Selassie became emperor, and after Haile Selassie became emperor, the same Pope and Mussolini and Gasperier that signed the pact and so-called Emperor King Victor Emmanuel III attacked Ethiopia. As Revelation says, the dragon stood before the woman, brother, just waiting for the man-child to be born. Even when the man-child was literally born, the dragon invaded the battle of Adawa. But yet still the man-child that was to be born now, according to Revelation 12, was to rule all nations. So the coronation is also another symbol of the birth of this man-child to rule all nations. The year before the dragon institute the city-state, the Vatican as you know it today, and attack the next year. As soon as the man-child was born, as soon as the emperor just get coronated and start to shape up Ethiopia, in came the mustard gas and the bombs and the flamethrowers. In a sense, a story all by itself, but hear this now. Because what happened now, keeping in mind, we done breaking down the allegory that the coronation of Haile Selassie is symbolic of what took place with Osiris. What do we know of the Osiris? What did Dr. Ben teach us of the Osiris? What is there? You know what I mean? Whether the great doctor taught us or not. Osiris, after he went into the underworld, it was 5 years that Osiris was in the underworld. Exactly 5 years. And when he resurrected, he became the constellation of Orion. When Haile Selassie I, remember, when Italy attacked Ethiopia, Haile Selassie at that time, Ethiopia was already a member of the League of Nations. The League of Nations has an article known as Article 16. Remember, we're dealing with numerology here as well. And Article 16 specifically addresses the whole aspect of collective security, meaning that no nation is supposed to attack any other nation within the realms of the League of Nations. And if one nation attacks another nation in the League of Nations, all the other nations were supposed to sever themselves from the miscreant or the villain, meaning the person that is attacking. So Italy was the miscreant. Italy was the villain that was attacking Ethiopia at the time. And remember now, you have to keep in mind that the science here is crazy, because Italy now, as a thief, as a robber, robbing all of the minerals from the different African countries. At that same time, Italy now had a lot of ammunition and tanks and bombs, and remember, the Ethiopians were fighting with their sticks and stones. It's just reality. Don't laugh, because they held the Italians at bay with their sticks and stones and their barefoot, so you can he all you want. You understand what I'm saying? In fact, in reality, Italy never officially conquered Ethiopia for that 5-year period. They just had a certain faction. The vast majority of Ethiopia was still liberated, and the soldiers of the king were holding back them tanks and them planes. That's just reality. So if you understand the story properly, on the 5th of May, 1936, and what you're looking at here is a Time magazine, but this is more highlighting the coronation of Haile Selassie. This is 1930. In 1936, he also appeared on Time magazine. He was the Man of the Year. 1936. Why is that so? In 1936, the Man of the Year, Haile Selassie I. Yeah, man, the unknown. You know what I mean? When you mention Haile Selassie now, people is like, wow, somebody really names him? You know what I mean? I thought it is something y'all Rastas does say Selassie. He's a real person? Can you imagine that? This is how far the thing reached. So anyway, in 1936, on the 5th of May, you see, when you understand what's taking place here, remember Ethiopia being in the League of Nations. That meant that you had representatives from, obviously, Ethiopia, the envoys in these ones, ministers of foreign affairs, which would be going back and forward to Geneva, Switzerland, where the League of Nations was, pleading the Ethiopian cause. While the soldiers, as you can see, the dreadlock soldiers here, like the Mama warriors, while the soldiers were on the battlefield, spitting fire and holding down the fort, the diplomatic war was taking place. Not Haile Selassie, no. Haile Selassie was on the battlefield too. Haile Selassie had the big gun in hand and firing shot. You understand? In fact, let me look for that and show you. But the point is that Haile Selassie himself, specifically, being on the front line, being on the battlefield itself, after a time, the diplomatic war needed to be fought on another level. So in 1936, that is when Haile Selassie left Ethiopia himself, and he went to Geneva, Switzerland, and he appeared before the League of Nations himself. Now, this is very interesting, because this, according to history, is the very first time that a head of state ever appeared or spoke to the League of Nations. They always had representatives. As I said, they had envoys.
maybe a minister of foreign affairs. As you can see, Haile Selassie in full military attire, is water fighting there. You know, see the king on his foot on the bomb. Yeah, they say no play thing. So the king on the battlefield. You know what I mean? At the same time. So when he went to address the League of Nations now, the League of Nations itself as an organization, as I said, they were not supposed to even be prolonging this war. They were prolonging the war. One of the things that they did, they pronounced an embargo from both countries. So Italy would not have get any chance to get any more weapons, and Ethiopia would not get any more weapons. But Ethiopia didn't have no weapons. Italy was making weapons. And you may be saying, well, Ethiopia should have been more advanced. What are you talking about? You don't really understand what's going on here, man. All of these European warmonger countries, they were robbing the resources of the same African colonies that they had and going back to Europe and making instruments of war to go and kill people. That's just how they think. You understand? So when Haile Selassie I now addressed the League of Nations in 1936 on the 30th day of the 30th day of June 1936, he gave a speech showing them that today it is us, but tomorrow it will be you. He showed them clearly that the spark that has been scratched, the match that has been scratched in Ethiopia shall go and burn throughout Europe. This is 1936. Now remember, he left Ethiopia on the 5th of May, 1936. He returned to Ethiopia on the 5th of May, 1941. That is exactly 5 years apart. May is the 5th month and the 5th day. So if you notice the 5 all around there, 5 years, and not just 5 years, you know, exactly 5 years apart. Now, when he's standing before the League of Nations here, what is he doing? He's pleading for his people. That's what he's doing. That's exactly. People like to say, "Oh, Haile Selassie went to the League of Nations and begged." He didn't go begging. But really, when you read the scripture, it says that the Lord shall gather all nations together and bring them in the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's the book of Joel. And there I shall plead with them for my people that they have carried away captive. The book of Zephaniah, chapter 3. I think we definitely highlight that in our book. The book of Zephaniah, chapter 3. In that book, it clearly says that the Lord shall gather all nations together, wherein he shall pour out his wrath amongst them. Listen to this. He shall speak unto them in a pure language from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. He shall speak unto them. The Lord shall gather the nations together. Now, obviously, the way we have been taught, the Lord gathering the nation is, you know what I mean, everybody on the planet standing up behind one another, and this voice coming out of the clouds, ye people of the world, I am the Lord your God. Yeah, you see, because we watch too much television. But getting the allegory now and putting it into flesh, the Lord shall gather all nations. This is the League of the Nations. This is the only man that is a head of state, not even a president or prime minister, you know, not even a king. This is the emperor of an African country of which there is no other in the League of Nations. And he's from the ancient country of Ethiopia, you know, the same place where you find the oldest bones and fossils of human beings, the same country that is the first country that is a recognized country today that is mentioned in the Holy Bible. Don't play around with Ethiopia, the highest region, brother. When you understand the science of just Ethiopia itself and this man that is representing Ethiopia in the cosmic of time, standing before the European colonializers, the same colonializers that came and bowed to him, showing them
that what you're doing in Ethiopia today shall burn throughout Europe. He said it in his speech. Remember, World War II followed this, and when World War II kicked off in full steam, Haile Selassie had already liberated Ethiopia. He made mention of Article 16. He said it is because they have turned their back on Article 16. They cut Osiris into 16 pieces. The same Osiris who they had a banquet for, and 72 heads of states, 72 of the colonializers, 72 representative and conspirators of Set came to the banquet, the coronation of the same Asa or Osiris, who became a man at the age of 12, or when he was fully 12. Any which way it will work, because he was the Deshmark, he was the governor of Sidamo, he was the governor of Gore, he was the governor of Hara, he was born in Ethiopia. And they say when Osiris resurrected, he resurrected exactly 5 years after he was crucified. And to be more precise, he left on the 5th of May 1936. He returned and sat on the throne on the 5th of May 1941, exactly 5 years apart, to fulfill the allegory that is given of Osiris. And in wrapping up, my brother, I am wrapping up now. What we have here, as I said, you know, remember we going into, this is almost just to prepare the mind for what we would be going into, my honorable king, on the 4th of October, you know, because on the 4th of October, as I said, we'll be giving the presentation Rastafari and the Cosmos, which is really what we're talking about here tonight. And I'm using this astronomical simulator. And you're looking at the constellation of Orion here. With this specific simulator, what it does, it can also give you the Greek rendition of what you're looking at. And you know, and this is why now we got to separate Orion from Sahu. They call the constellation Orion. In ancient Kemet, we call the constellation Sahu. And somebody will tell you, well, it's all right, it's just the same thing, it's a different name. That's the same thing they say about Jesus and so. Oh well, it's just Jesus. I mean Jesus, Emmanuel. It don't make a difference. Jesus is just the English name for it. No. These are two different characters. Jesus doesn't have a father. The real Messiah have a father. Jesus ain't got no wife. The real Messiah that Jesus has been patterned off of has a wife. What else about Jesus? Jesus ain't got no children. Jesus dead and come back alive. No. I mean, it's beyond. You know, the Bible says in Ethiopian theology, Christ was born in Ethiopia, in a cave in Ethiopia. The book of 2 Chronicles chapter 33 verse 14 says that the city of David is on the west of the river Nile. I mean, man need to figure this thing out. What is the city of David doing to the west of the river Nile? The city of David is where Christ was born. It's right there. I just said it. 2 Chronicles chapter 33 verse 14. Don't argue with me. Go and read it for yourself. You argued with me, and I just tell you where to go and see it. It says that Manasseh built a wall around the city of David on the west side of the Gihon. I don't see no Nile there. The Gihon. The Gion. Genesis chapter 2, verse 13. And the Gion was the river that encompassed the whole land of Ethiopia. So the point is, the Gion runs through Ethiopia. And the city of David is on the west of the Gion. It doesn't look good for the Palestine concept of Jerusalem and Bethlehem. That's what I'm saying. So Christ was born in Bethlehem, right? But according to 2 Chronicles chapter 33, verse 14, this Bethlehem seems to be to the west of the Gion, which would align perfectly with what the Ethiopians say. What did they say? Christ was born in a cave in Ethiopia. That could be on the west of the Gion. Probably the Gion runs through Ethiopia. The Blue Nile. I mean, you see, this is what I'm telling you. They stifle our mentality, man. So Orion now, to get to the point I'm making, Orion is not Sahu. Orion is the hunter. Look at this, you know what I mean? Look at this savage picture that this software has for the great Sahu. This is the hunter. This is the Greek Orion. Have some dead animal over his hand here, kneeling down, and a club in his hand. That's not how Sahu looks. Sahu looks like the constellation. I don't need those pictures. I mean, I don't even need these lines. I could, we can go outside and spot these in the heavens. And Orion is a very easy constellation to see. There you have the three stars that represent the belt of Orion. There you have Orion's shield. That's the shield of Orion. It's not no dead animal. This is a sword with a point on it. It's just that the astronomical lines here, they draw it differently in this modern time. But when I started to study astronomy, you could see the clear sword. In fact, when you look at the heavens, all of this, this is supposed to be like a shoulder. The shoulder goes across and the neck comes down. This is just distorted. You have the eyes here. This is one of the more pronounced constellations. The Orion, that's the belt again, and that's the feet. Here you have Rigel, you have Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse, two of the more outstanding stars in the heavens. So Orion now also stands specifically on the equator of the heavens. If you notice here, I just put up the grid lines. This is the equator, this is the celestial equator, and Orion stands on the north and the south. Orion is, I think, the only constellation that is given that luxury to be perfectly divided between the northern celestial hemisphere and the southern celestial hemisphere. Very, very important, because remember Sahu, which is Orion, Sahu, as they call it, the Orion stuff. Sahu, which is not no hunter, not killing no animal. Sahu is the resurrected Asa. This is the point. Sahu is the resurrected Osiris. Very important. Sahu himself is the individual that governs both sides of the sphere. That is why Haile Selassie is the only head of state that has addressed the League of Nations and the United Nations. And it's obvious that Haile Selassie represents Osiris. Haile Selassie represents Asa. So that means Haile Selassie must represent Orion or Sahu. And that is why Sahu is considered the Lord of the heavens. Sahu is considered the Lord of the sky. Sahu is on both the north and the southern celestial aspect, because the celestial equator runs perfectly through Sahu. And Baba, every time I could go on and never stop, but I gotta leave it right here. Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Jah Rastafari, my Lord. I know that was an abrupt end, but believe me, I just pull down and leave,
Blessed Sabbath, priest.
My Lord.
If it's anybody that was deeply spiritual. I still haven't snapped out of it. Priest, give thanks for dropping that. Yeah, give maximum respect and thanks for that. This brother connects the dots. One thing that it taught me is really one African spiritual system. When the priests talk about the allegory and those things, it just let us know that we practice it in ancient time, and it's no different than the way African people practice the African stories in this modern time. So if we can understand it in the ancient time, we should be able to under and overstand it in this modern time. And priest, thank you so much for that. And just as a
Well, I give thanks, as you know that. Go ahead.
Go ahead, priest. Go ahead.
No. Well, I was I was highlighting. Remember that. So even at this time, coming off of the 11th of September, that is the official Ethiopian New Year, as Ethiopia celebrates the New Year, the 11th of September, is also the day that they recognize the John the Baptist, or Kedes Johannes. The 11th of September is also the date of the resurrection of the same Asa, aligning with the Ethiopian New Year, aligning with the day of Kedes Johannes. And according to Max Thought, in the book known as The Pyramid Prophecy, he highlights that the 11th of September, specifically 2001, we all know what was happening that day. He's saying that that's the last day of the prophecy of the pyramid. And this book was written, I had that book before 9/11, the 9/11 events, that took place. So, it's just mystic, that science there. And although some Ethiopians now, or some people, align the New Year, because in Ethiopia, the New Year, the 11th September, brings to an end. They say that the rains literally come to an abrupt end at the 11th of September, showing you that there's some cosmic science connected there. Some people align it with the visit of the Queen of Sheba to King Solomon as well. It says that when she visited King Solomon, when she came back, they had to refresh her jewelry, because although we speak of the riches of Solomon, Queen of Sheba carry enough riches them with it to her. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it is said that she gave him, hear this now, 666 talents of gold, if I'm not mistaken. Because remember, the 666 has the science too. It's a deep reasoning, whole mark of the beast and everything. But we have both spirit and flesh too. The flesh is considered beast too. That's why, just the whole carbon makeup of the 6 protons, neutrons, and electrons. But yes, 666 talents of gold that she threw Daddy Solomon, man. So he said when she came back at the New Year, some say that that's where the New Year started, But as I said, even prior to that, the science of Asa being resurrected, the science of the rain just abruptly coming to an end, and all of these different things. So we don't do anything in Africa just because of a story or a legend. We work with science itself, So give thanks again. Even the 72, remember the 72, the sun moves 72 1 degree every 72 years in the precession of the equinox. Because remember, you have the precession of the equinoxes from one age to another age. Each age is 2,160 years, and so the sun have a 30-degree move to make from that time to that time. So it's 1 degree every 72 years. So the science of the 72, the 72 heartbeats per minute, 72 represents life, So when you see the 72 in the allegory of Asa, and you see the 72 played out, we say it as Ras and sing it in reggae, and we don't know that's high science. We're talking about 72 nations come down and bow. That's 72 that is coming from the walls of our ancient forefathers and has crystallized itself. That's why we see him as the Christ, because our prophecies has crystallized themselves in him and is right before our eyes, Yes, so give thanks. So yes, my brother, listen, I'm just inviting everyone to come and join me, you know, on the 4th of October. We'll be having a wonderful online lecture, my brother. Um, this is the Rastafari and the Cosmos. We will be officially launching our ebook. That is the Heavens Declare. I mean, the ebook is already out. You know, you can even get it on Amazon. If you go to Amazon, you get our ebook. You just go precise the Heavens Declare the Glory on Amazon, and it's right there for you. And all of our books as well, the True Biblical Land of Israel, as well as the book Anu. You can get them on Amazon, but I'm telling you, it's better you get them directly from me. So you could email me. You see my email there in the chat, I'm sure, preciseisac27@gmail.com. But you will have to email us to get your key, your code, so you could enter into the lecture hall on the 4th of October. You could also make your payments via Cash App, my good brother. I'm going to just put up the poster one more time, just so the family who may have just come in, you know, they could get a better idea of exactly what we're talking about. And I could tell you, you know, straight off the bat, I know we touched upon a lot tonight, and I'm not afraid to say, my brother, I was somewhat freestyling it, really, you know, straight up. Yeah, searching for pictures even while we speak. But sometimes it's better to come like that, you know, just come off of the head, especially if you know you can do it. But the reality is that on Sunday, the 4th of October, I must honestly say that we will have a little more organized presentation for the audience, as we would like to make some very key points. We don't want to go around certain points and get to some points for a specific time frame. As I said, we will have a special question and answer room, which I'm very excited about. I'm looking forward to that. And there's certain other mechanisms added to that question and answer room that you will see when you come in, you know, especially those who pay for their lecture. When if they miss the lecture, you know, I didn't want to say this because I don't want to encourage you to miss it, but if you miss the lecture, the fact that you paid for it, it will be also there reserved, and you could come back and watch it, and you would see a list of the questions that were asked. And if you press the button where the question was asked, you will actually automatically go to the area where I answered the question. This is some serious stuff. So I'm just showing you that if you have a specific question, instead of like coming into the chat and be asking the same question, a lot of people asking the same question, when you come into the question room, because that's where we will be focused on, the question room. You're not going to be looking in the chat for questions. So when you put your question in the question room, when somebody comes in and see a similar question, they can vote on the question. Even if somebody doesn't have a question and they say, hey, that's a good question, they can vote on the question. And when I come into the question room and I see, okay, there are 12 questions here, the same question, 12 votes, same question, 6 votes, 5 votes, I would quickly pick the 12 votes and say, okay, let us deal with the majority of the people first. So, you know, it's going to be an interactive evening. It's just the first of many lectures to come. I'm telling you now, you could gear yourself to join the club, because we will be doing this monthly, our monthly online lectures, seminars, and workshops, you know, different. We'll have guest lecturers as well, and so many different things, you know. But this is our official book launching now for the Heavens Declare the Glory. Just quickly, if you have the Cash App, that's the Cash App information there, my brother, Atanra 2723. Especially because of the platform that we would be using, it is we prefer that you, if possible, that you could make the payments via the Cash App. If not, all you have to do is email me, precise27@gmail.com, and you know, I'll give you more information of exactly how the transaction can be made as well. So, I mean, basically, that is it. Just looking forward to see you on the 4th of October, 7 p.m. sharp. Our first official online lecture, my good brother. So, we are quite excited about it. Rastafari and the Cosmos. Yes, I. You're on mute. You there every time, Fire?
This mute. I keep forgetting I'm on mute.
Okay.
Shout out to the island of Antigua and Barbuda. Shout out to the DeFrancis family in Antigua. Shout out to the Benjamin family, and especially shout out to my big brother and priest, the Honorable Priest Isaac. And I just wanted to add this, priest. The priest was talking to us about music. And the family, go and Google Black Vein Rhythm. Go Google that, because these artists, Dwayne Stephenson, Kabaka Pyramid, Luton Fire, Bugle, and others, it's only $5. Spotify would probably be I would think, the best one, although iTunes has it. And these are the type of CDs and albums that we really should support. Every song on there speaks to Black power, Black liberation, feeding the Black soul, time of struggle. If you're feeling down, it's gonna uplift you, and we really should support the artists them when they come out with things like that, and not just about shaking your booty and going against the grain and giving us the spiritual, powerful roots reggae music that we know that is inside of our people. So support that. Go on it. It is fire. Every song, family. And on a sad note, another sad note, I just have to add this brother. Our brother, passed away on the 9th. He had a long bout with, I think it was colon cancer. And
he was going through something with that.
Condolences to his family. Condolences to Dr. and attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz and this brother.
That's your brother.
Yeah, this brother, I can say, it was one of the true Cubs and representatives of the Honorable Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. They said, "Well, how you know about the group?" I wasn't in the group, but I paid attention. Let's just say that I paid attention. And he was the brother who ran up and down the highway when Doc was building the new Black Panther Party, up and down the highway, in the car, sleeping where they had to sleep, wherever they could sleep. It was that brother right there. I met him several times at Howard University. He was a student with attorney and Dr. Malik Zulu Shabazz. So our deep condolences go out to our chairman and minister Hashim and Zinga. And I just want to right here, he's down in Atlanta. There is Saturday, September 19th. The place of service is the 3D Complex, 2244 Penola Road, Lithonia, Georgia. Starts at 11 o'clock. Attorney and Dr. Malik Zulu Shabazz and a host of others will be there to commemorate the life and as a home-going celebration for our mighty brother, Hashim and Zinga, who has entered the realm of the Agungun, and I didn't want to leave that undone. So, yes, sir, my brother. With that being said, thank you so much, priest.
Yes, my brother.
We always want to continue to hear from the Honorable Priest Isaac. Thank you so much for keeping the family together. That's how it should be when you teach, showing that it's one African family. It might be different streams of thought, but really them streams of thought aren't so different. They
Yes, my
all
Lord.
come from the same source. Blessed Sabbath day.
I really love that, man. Yes, man. Blessed. Lord. Guidance to yourself.